Does anyone remember this kind of ludicrous bullshit moment about a year ago when Labour right briefcasey apparatchik types um, were kind of bounced into saying nice things about Zoran Mamdani? So Mamdani won the New York mayoral race on a kind of platform of fighting inequality, fighting for underrepresented minority groups, and saying that his focus is on serving New Yorkers and explicitly rejecting the Israel lobby and openly calling a genocide a genocide. But the thing that won it for him was focusing on the cost of living, focusing on everyday issues like the buses and potholes and stuff like that, and saying that that government can govern and do it effectively, and the record would tend to suggest that. What is it that the Labour Party saw in all of that? Well, what they saw was his very effective sort of TikToks and videos and marketing. That's what they saw. That's what they said, oh, isn't that great? The Green Party, I don't think necessarily Zach Polanski modelled himself on Zoran Mamdani, because the two phenomena were kind of happening at about the same time and were largely unconnected. But that happens in the world sometimes, you know. Sometimes two people write, scripts for Hollywood movies about the same thing, and they both come out. You know, it's just one of those things. I note that the British Commentariat kind of made the connection between the two, and I know that the Green Party has made positive noises about Mamdani. I'm not sure whether that's reciprocated particularly, but the fact that the Labour Party, various Labour MPs who did not share Mamdani's politics, do not share his beliefs, are active in their support for the Israeli state, that believe in privatization, in outsourcing, have basically zero interest in addressing anything relating to the cost of living, housing, or the climate crisis, but do like their careers. You know, they do like their sinecures, they do like their nice jobs, they do like being heard. They saw in Mamdani a guy who had mastered public relations, was very good at it, and that's the lesson they drew. Oh, be better at public relations. Why did they draw that conclusion? Because the business of the Labour Party is triangulation. It is, as John Gray put it, I think he was being interviewed on Novara, that the business of the Labour Party is to introduce wildly unpopular policies that will be of use to the corporate backers who really pay the Labour Party's bills and who donate to MPs like Wes Streeting and people like that, and to kid the population for long enough that something vaguely progressive is going to happen, and manage to sort of walk this tightrope whereby you win with a landslide majority, you expect to get a smaller majority, and then maybe hang on for a third term. And after that, you know, you sort out the peerages and the podcasts and the nice jobs, media or corporate, for a select chunk of the party faithful, and away you go. And you then hand back to the Tories, and that's sort of how it works. Why am I talking about all this? Well, because we have two moments across either side of the Atlantic happening simultaneously, which give us a picture of where the left and the centre left, and actually not even the centre left, the right of the Labour Party, which essentially kind of Toryism for Guardian readers actually is. Mamdani has given his backing to candidates in primaries across New York State for the state Senate. These are all left candidates, working class candidates who have come from a place of activism, of unionization, of things like fast food work, and they plan to do the kinds of things that Mamdani is doing in New York, to essentially address the cost of living problems and the day-to-day stuff like childcare and public transport for ordinary people across New York State. And in the Labour Party in the UK, we have the coronation of Burnham. Every indicator, from his hiring of James Purnell as his chief of staff, Google Purnell and his history, and you'll look at that. You'll essentially see the kind of the Labour right pedigree all the way through, from think tanks to lobbying for oil companies and all the rest. Burnham's connection to Labour Friends of Israel, Burnham's essentially embracing of the right-wing anti-immigration rhetoric, all this kind of stuff is aping of the far right, which he's already begun. This is a hollow prospect for change. There are people who are desperate that Burnham will present an alternative that people can embrace and will manage to avoid a reform government. I'm really dubious. I don't want to be. I don't want a reform government. Desperately don't want that. But I'm really dubious. I don't see it. I don't see that Burnham is doing anything to convince somebody like me, which I presume that, I abandoned the Labour Party as it lurched to the right about 20 years ago and never came back. I guess he doesn't want my vote. I mean, I cannot think of a single thing he's done or said that would indicate that he does want that. And yet, the purpose of getting Burnham on board surely is to bring back the left that's been lost to the Green Party, that the Labour Party decided that it wanted to expel, it wanted to reject, it wanted to throw as much hate and loathing at it as possible. I can think of no other reason of dumping Starmer to embrace Burnham if that isn't the actual objective. If it's simply that they think Burnham is more palatable, more likable, more able to play a cleverer PR game, then we're in a darker and, I would argue, stupider place than I could possibly have predicted. And the fact that what they saw in Mamdani the other year was not an activist politician that wanted to roll his sleeves up on day one and start to challenge poverty itself. The fact that they didn't see that in him, but they saw a man who had obviously hired a very good cinematographer, filmmaker, media strategist, or what have you, indicates to me that what they see and hope for in Burnham isn't somebody that will deal with the fundamental problems of the country, which, if left unchecked, will lead to the country exploding. But what they see is a savvy media operator. And that does not augur well, because people are going to see through that. People are looking for substance, desperate for substance. And if we have none, then it leaves the door open to the far right. So, we shall see, but it ain't looking good. Anyway, next up, we'll talk about, I don't know, probably something to do with the golf, because I'm guessing that's going to roll on. Anyway, next one. Bye bye.